Hello and good day, Mike Adcock with an update on Tropical Storm Trami in the Western Pacific. It goes also going by the Filipino name Maring. This brief is based on the 9 Zulu JMA advisory package from the 19th of August. Taking a look at Trami this afternoon at 9 Zulu, 600 kilometers south-southeast of Miyako, Ojima, Japan. Winds with it at 35 knots, gusting to 50. It is moving to the north-northeast, very so slightly as it continues to make its broad curve back to the west. Pressure 992 hectopascal. Taking a look at the MSI imagery here, quite a bit of convection consolidating over it. On the south side of that extends over in northern Luzon, where they've been dealing with some showers and thunderstorms with this system over the past couple of days. There was some media reports of at least one death associated with Trami. So continue to monitor this. It should start pulling away from the Philippines over the next day or so as it wraps around and moves back to the west. Taking a look at the JMA analysis from 6 Zulu, you can see Trami there, stage center there, starting to make that curve to the north, then back to the northwest, toward the weakness left in the wake of the other tropical depression that we've been tracking over the weekend. Do want to point out, notice here around Hainan Island, the lack of tropical depression Utor. We've been tracking this one for well over a week now. It has now been removed from JMA's analysis. Still some isolated showers and thunderstorms with it, but it is starting to dissipate quite a bit. Hopefully they will get a break in the weather for a little while. And then quickly note a couple of tropical cyclones crossing the international date line. More on that toward the end of the video. Here is the official JMA track forecast on Trami. Very erratic over the past few days, as you can tell from this track. This blue dotted line should start moving off to the north and then back to the northwest, affecting the southern islands of Japan before brushing up against northern Taiwan and in the vicinity of the Taipei area as a typhoon near the 21st. This is going to be evening time on the 21st, and then eventually overnight into the 22nd. That's going to make landfall there in eastern China. Here is the Bagasa forecast on Maring. Pretty similar scenario, a little bit further north and east, taking a little more time making that wrap around. Still affecting the southern islands and should play a role in the in northern Taiwan based on this track. Taiwan's a little further south, closer to Taipei as a typhoon. Again, this is going to be late on the 21st. Again, as a typhoon. Hong Kong a little further north, but still affecting Taiwan. Keep in mind, as this system is moving westward, the bulk of the winds and thunderstorms should be on the northern side of the storm. So the further north, I mean, these tracks, although may not seem significant here, they do play a huge role in whether or not Taipei will get the bulk of these winds or not. So we're going to see how these play out over the next couple of days. Here's JTWC's track forecast. They take a direct landfall on Taipei, again as a typhoon. Looking at the advisory package here, looking at least 75 knots, may see it a little stronger based on this forecast of around 80 or so prior to landfall. Should weaken it a bit before landfall in eastern China. And as you can imagine, this matches up pretty decently with the track guidance, starting to make that curve back around, affecting the southern islands. So should not be a factor for Okinawa, except for some increased showers and thunderstorms for them. But in terms of the significant winds, probably not much of anything there. Probably some increased surf will be the only factor there. In terms of the intensity guidance, pretty much everything's in agreement that some slow strengthening should continue. Should easily make typhoon status. Once it does, though, I don't expect it to get much stronger beyond category, a equivalent of a Category 1 on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. For our current Dvorak analyses, didn't get much out of JMA this evening. Their 6 Zulu bulletin was pretty devoid of any useful information. NESDIS and JTWC, though, both calling it a T 3.0 for both their data T and the final T. Looking there at about 6 to 7 tenths wrap. Either way, it yields to about a 3.0. The advanced Dvorak, a little stronger. Their current intensity of 3.5 would be about 55 knots. So, matter of fact, if we go back a few here, if you remember from the JTWC forecast, it's about 50 knots, so that seems relatively reasonable. Sorry, as I flip through here. Here is the OSCAT imagery, microwave imagery from 3 Zulu. You can see as it's continuing to move eastward, the bulk of the stronger winds is going to be in that convection on the south side of the storm. These green barbs indicating tropical storm force winds. At this time, it's not picking up on 50 knots, but you do have quite a bit of 40s here in this deep convection. So, and granted, this is about 6 hours old, so could see some 50-knot winds in this cloud mass. Sea surface temperature is awfully warm, exceeding 30 degrees Celsius, and that's going to be really for the next couple of days. So really nothing holding back Trami from strengthening. That also goes for shear. Decreasing shear as it starts to make this turn off to the north. May run into some in the next couple of days. We'll see how that plays that role as you get toward Taiwan, but really shouldn't be that much of a factor. So that pretty much wraps up Trami. Taking a look, I do have again quite a few storms that we're tracking across the across the world. Can't speak today. Again, we are talking about that tropical depression that just made landfall in eastern China. It's been interacting with a Fujiwara effect with Trami. At 6 Zulu, JMA places about 15 kilometers north-northwest of Yangkang, and it continues to move off to the west at 10 knots. Not anticipating as prolonged of an event as with Utor, but still should continue to spread showers and thunderstorms over eastern China. As again, recapping on Trami, 600 kilometers south-southeast of Miyakojima, 35 knots, gusting up to 50. And then we do have Peva, that crossed over the international date line yesterday, 1,295 kilometers east-southeast of Wake Island. Right now, the only threat of land is going to be Wake Island, 55 knots, gusting to 80, and that's expected to become a typhoon over the next couple of days. Moving on east, Unala, this is 02C. This was upgraded earlier today to a tropical storm. This is the first time in a few years, actually since 2010 rather. We've had 2 Central Pacific storms named simultaneously. Honolulu gave the virtual fist bump to Tokyo to take over advisories since it's now crossed the international date line. 1,210 kilometers south of Midway, 35 gusting to 45. Really shouldn't see much with this storm since it's awfully close to Peva and should begin to do a Fujiwara effect as well. 92C just to its east, about 305 kilometers west of Johnston Atoll. Really not expecting a whole lot of near-term development at this time. 30% from the Central Pacific Hurricane Center. That should, if it starts to pull away from Peva and Unala, it may get its act together, but right now not expecting any near-term development. And then closer to Mexico, 94E. This is about 695 kilometers southwest of Acapulco. Pretty weak as well, 20% chance for near-term development. And as you can see, I've turned off the tracking for the Atlantic systems. Aaron's devoid of any convection, and the 94L off the coast of Africa, really not getting its act together. Matter of fact, National Hurricane Center has downgraded it to a 0% chance for development. So that pretty much concludes our update on Trami today, and just a real quick recap of the global tropical weather. You can get this and other Western Pacific analysis over at westernpacificweather.com or follow along on Twitter and Facebook. You can also join in on the global tropical discussion on storm2k.org. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Senior Pepper to get updates in between videos. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day. Take care.